So what is sustainable agriculture? We can achieve several broad goals in this sustainable approach. Reduce the chemicals to a minimum, conserving soil and water resources, encourage biodiversity, and we have to understand healthy biological active soil lead to healthier, more resilient plants and animals. It's like humans. If we are balanced, we're doing all the healthy things. Our immune system is strong, and we can fight off the germs and the bugs, right? Easier. And the last thing we want to think about is, this is very interesting. This is the introduction of the good bugs to a crop field to keep the bad bugs away. That works that works much better than using tons of the pesticides. To conserve the soil and the water resources, we want to reduce tilling, right? That will keep the water moisture and reduce the soil erosion, reduce the demands of irrigation. And we want to definitely reduce the use of fertilizer. Half of them were washed away. That's ridiculous. And creating this huge dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. And for the pesticides, we want to carefully select and time the use of the pesticides and decrease the amount of the material we need to apply to the environment. And the precision agriculture, that means with all the computer technology and the geographic information systems, it is possible to automatically vary the chemicals applied to the crop, to the crops. And the crop rotation is an effective way to enhance soil fertility, reduce erosion, and control pests. Now I want to introduce this cool concept, IPM, Integrated Pest Management. I want to give a few examples how we achieve good results just by manipulating the bugs, not by spraying tons of the chemicals, okay? But of course, at first, we need to know, we need to have the scientific knowledge about the metabolism of the crop plants, the biological interactions between the pests and the predators or parasites. We have a fantastic Annenberg assignment to target this learning goal. So enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And we need to know the climate patterns, favoring pests. We need to know the techniques to encourage beneficial insects. So we use good bugs to control the bad bugs. And a few examples will be, you can release hormones to confuse the male organism, right? To manipulate the location of the male organism to disrupt their reproduction. And we can also sterilize the male organism, such as mosquitoes, right? We hate mosquitoes. And we can genetically engineer those mosquitoes and make them sterile and put them in the environment, and they cannot have offspring. And that is a successful case in some of the states of the United States. Natural predators, I will give you more example. And bacteria and viral strains introduced to kill the bad bugs. The ladybird beetle can eat aphids, so you can introduce the beetles to control the population of aphids. The aphids is a sapping, like to suck the sap of the plants. And another example is the Coney cushion scale. It's a white worm, okay. And you can see the pattern here. This is a gross density of this worm. And around about like 100 years ago, we have a high population. That's when the people introduced the ladybug predators and significantly bring down the population of the pests. And then it's up and down because when the pests go low, the predators go low also, right? When the predator goes low, the prey kind of bounce back, and then that bring back the population of predators. So they control each other to around, I would say, in 1940s, right? That time we have DDT, we spray the DDT and try to kill the bugs. Actually, we see the resurgence of the pest because we kill the ladybug also. So this is good examples how we use good bugs to control the bad bugs. Another example is to control the invasive species, the purple loosestrife. It looks very beautiful, but it spread everywhere and kill all the native plants. And we introduce a few species of the beetles targeting different parts of the plants. And it's easier to say than getting the work done. It takes scientists several years to study the behaviors of the beetles. They carefully study and calculate the number of the beetles and release them into the nature, and that was a very successful case. And a few other issues I want to mention. So that wrap up my discussion about the pesticides and fertilizers. I want to touch a few other topics about agriculture. People are concerning about the ethics when we raise animals. Recent years we raise animals in CAFO, that's concentrated animal feeding operations, and I call them concentration camp for the animals. They're very crowded, confined in a tiny space. They cause tremendous pollution, and those animals, instead of grazing on the grassland, people just put them in those spaces and feed them food. And some chickens even do not have space to stand up, not mentioning going out. Why we are doing this and use antibiotics to prevent disease? Because our meat consumption keeps going up. That's a problem. So we slaughter the animals, more than ever before in history. So that is the one concern about the meat production. Okay. That's why you cut down the meat consumption will greatly help our planet. Catching and raising seafood and technology enable us to catch more fish, right? And also we culture those fish in aquaculture. Aquaculture is a pollution site because we use antibiotics, right? And the fish produce a large amount of waste and contaminate the marine water. And see how wasteful those fisheries are. They dump 30 to 60% of the bycatch away. Throw away millions of tons of the marine animals each year. That's why the overfishing is a huge problem. It's a global challenge. It's a global disaster. I'm a little bit mad about this. Bycatch, that's an intentional catch of non-target marine life in fishing scale. So to have 1 ton of shrimp, you have to throw away 3 tons of fish. That is very wasteful. Fortunately, we have some website you can check out just to smartly select the fish you eat and help the environment. So how have our food system changed? Well, the consumption definitely goes up because of population growth. And the number of the crops we consume has decreased. We are losing the biodiversity. We lost 90% of the biodiversity of the crops in the past 100 years. And that will shrink, that shrinking diversity will cause the food insecurity. And remember, the ecosystem with less biodiversity is less resilient to disaster, right? It's more vulnerable and it's hard for themselves to repair after damage. And we choose more sweet, salty, fatty foods, which is not healthy for our body. We eat more meat and less veggies and fruits. That's better for the environment, better for ourselves. And nourishment that will cause obesity and heart disease, diabetes. You'll have a lot of health problem when the weight is going over too much. And nowadays, people choose more of the processed food than prepared food at home. That's the shifting food culture, and more convenient because of the life rhythm is really fast, and everybody try to save time cooking and shopping. So how can we link our food choices to sustainability? Cut down the meat consumption. Okay, that save the energy. We can have enough meat in the main meal of the day, and other meals, like you don't have to eat meat like every meal. And the people argue that saves energy, and that is more friendly to the environment. And we also concerned about the animal welfare, and people argue about the animal ethics. And we want to treat our farmers more fairly, okay, to buy their products with fair price, to ensure adequate wages and benefits. Because majority of the people suffering from hunger actually work in farming communities. Isn't that sad? People producing food suffer more from hunger. And we want to buy more local foods. And reduce our food waste and reduce our food waste. The problem is we buy too much, okay, and we do not eat the leftover. That's two issues about the food waste. So plan your shopping and eating smartly, and eat your leftover. Do not overbuy and dump them and throw them away. So this concludes my whole lecture of chapter 12.